Hey guys, it's Ellie, and today I'm doing something a little bit different. So, I posted a video a while ago, and it was, how, like, 5 things that I have learned while being a chronic illness patient, right? And so, over the past week or so, I have been watching a lot of YouTube videos of people with the same journey, right? And so, they have helped me tremendously. And so I decided that for anyone going through that, I would make you all a video because I found like 3. And I decided there needs to be more resources like that in the world. So we're gonna do that. So starting off, I probably should tell you guys about the main condition I have, which is called cyclical vomiting syndrome. So if you get triggered by vomiting or sickness at all, click away from this video now, because it's basically what it sounds like. And it's characterized by long episodes of extreme vomiting, sometimes with migraines and other symptoms that I don't remember right now. So all of the videos I've watched, they're like college students. I'm 14 years old. So they're all like, mine started when I was 16. Mine started when I was 7 years old, right? So we're gonna start there. So that was math. That was 2015. And so in 2015, I think it was around December, I got like a really bad headache, which I have another medical condition that I've had my whole life, which I get headaches pretty frequently. And so my parents were just like, oh, it's just a headache, whatever. And then I started like vomiting really bad. Like I think it was about 20 times in an hour-ish, which if you math, that's about once every 6 minutes. Once every 3 minutes. So they like took me to the ER or whatever. I was 7 at the time, so I was like, what the heck is happening? They basically, they got me into the ER or whatever, and they basically told us it was dehydration or just migraine. So they're like, okay then. So we went home, and this lasted for around 4 days, and it was miserable, but we just kept on whatever. And then it didn't happen for a few months, and then it happened again, and my parents took me to the ER again. They were like, it's just migraines, like she'll grow out of it, whatever. They couldn't give us anything. Disclaimer, I don't remember how, like, when they gave me different medications or what they were, because I was so young at the time. So if I can't tell you that exact thing, apologies. I was so young. And so then it began happening at like every month or so. And it was just 3 or 4 days. I would vomit 70 times or whatever. I wouldn't sleep. I would sleep all day, and then I would be up all night. And it didn't get like really bad until I was about 9 or 10. And at that point, I was still like vomiting the same amount. It was still the same length, but I would like kind of become unresponsive, where it was like I would still be awake and I would still be hearing everything, but like I wouldn't be coherent enough. Like still to this day, my mom will tell me something when I'm sick, and then she'll say something again when I'm feeling better, and I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Because I just don't remember anything, which in some cases is a blessing and a curse at the same time. And so we went to a bunch of neurologists, and they were just like, it's migraines, she's a kid, she'll grow out of them. And then we started going to this functional doctor. We went to him for about 3 months, I think, and he just put me on a diet, and it was basically no eggs, no dairy, and no gluten, and no processed foods. So I basically ate oranges, like fruit, just fruit and veggies. That was basically it, and like red meat, for months. And then it actually made it worse, so we're like, okay, what are we doing now? So we stopped going to him, and we started going to this guy who, first red flag about the second guy was he had a practice out of his apartment in the middle of nowhere. It was literally the middle of nowhere, and his house smelled like cats. Big red flag. We went to him for 2 weeks. He told me to get on vitamin C. I find it so funny how many people dismiss like these kind of episodes, how many doctors dismiss them as just anxiety or lack of sleep, lack of water, all of the things, when really it's a deeper service problem, right? And so then we started going to this one doctor, and we went to her up until I think 6 months ago. And okay, well, before this, I was probably the worst one I had ever had. I was about 10, and it was a week before my birthday. And it lasted for about 5 days, and my parents were up in Denver for a really big event that they have every year. And so my grandma was staying with me, and to tell you the truth, most of the info I'm about to give you has all been gathered from my grandma and my sister, because I remember none of this. So apparently, like, we had the mattress in the living room because I can't get out of bed. And so we just had the mattress in the living room, and we were sitting there watching this stupid magic show on Netflix. And I got up to go get some water, and apparently I just passed out. Never happened before. And I didn't wake up for about 30 minutes, and then when I woke up, I couldn't move. I remember that. I couldn't move, like, I couldn't open my eyes for about 5 minutes after I woke up. I couldn't feel anything. Apparently I was, like, super pale, my eyes were gray. And so my grandma rushed me to the ER. My parents came down from Denver, and apparently they just thought I had a seizure because of the brain activity. I still don't know what happened. I'm 14 years old, and this was 4 years ago. I still don't know what happened. And so then we started going to this functional medicine doctor, because my mom had decided that regular medicine wasn't cutting it, because they had all just shoved us off and said it was nothing, right? And so we started going to this one functional medicine doctor, and she decided it was plastic first. And so I got rid of all my plastic water bottles, all my plastic plates, everything. I stopped drinking out of anything plastic, basically. I would like take the straw out of drinks, even though I hate drinking drinks without straws. I wouldn't eat off of plastic plates, anything. It did nothing. Then she put me on a diet where it's called low histamine diet, where I couldn't eat most fruits, most veggies. I couldn't have most sugar. I couldn't have any dairy. It was like all of these things. I couldn't have any chocolate. There was so much. Couldn't have any broth. I was like, whoa, dude. Basically anything that makes you feel phlegmy in any way, or anything acidic. Basically, that was it. So I just ate red meat and potatoes, which isn't bad for like a week. Then you do it for 6 months and you're like, I hate this. So after a little bit, we got off of that, and it was just what it was. And then she decided it was mold. Like mold exposure, because when I was really little, we used to live next to a golf course, and so she was like, okay, it could be some of the pesticides from the golf course, which wouldn't be something you would normally think about, right? Like, golf course, whatever, unless you're like crunchy, you're like, oh, it's just golf course, but it really affects your body, apparently. And we had this playroom in the basement which had a water leak for like half the time we lived there, and so she was like, it's mold exposure. So we moved. It didn't stop. It ended up getting worse, and so we're like, okay, what? And then they thought it was something with my hormones. So they're like, when she like gets older, she'll just grow out of it. No. And so they put me on all these meds, all of these different things. I am trying to remember the exact order of events. And so it was basically like that. And one thing that triggers cyclical vomiting syndrome is excitement. So if you ever, I think there was an article posted a few years about a girl who was allergic to happiness. Same condition. So anything that usually triggers it is like high levels of emotion, basically. So like the one time that distinctly stands out in my mind is I had a project at school. We had like a presentation about whales, and I got to man one of the stands where you had to put like butter on your hand and then stick it in ice water, and it would show how like blubber kept animals warm or something. I was so excited. I got to man it with my best friend, and I ended up getting sick. And I remember I cried for hours. And so it just gets triggered by high levels of excitement. Trips. One time I got sick on a vacation, and I remember just vomiting all over the hotel bed. Oh, that was miserable. Birthdays. I've missed so many birthdays. I think every other birthday since I was 7 years old. Christmases. I've gotten sick on Christmas. I've gotten sick on New Year's, Thanksgiving, Halloween, 4th of July, over camps, over plays, that kind of thing. And so in May of this year, everything got really bad. I also got diagnosed with another condition called POTS, which is a very common condition apparently. Question mark? I don't know. But we decided we were gonna go to a physician in Minnesota. Long way. I live in Colorado, so long way. And so we flew out there, and she was the one who diagnosed me with cyclical vomiting, and my mom apparently was doing some research, and it takes 7 to 10 years to diagnose, which I'm around 7 years. And so that is where we are now. At the beginning of January, it had gone from once a month to about every 7 days. So I was getting 3 or 4 a month. And it'd be 3 or 4 days. It would be over half the month I would be sick. And I have read, I know this sounds really bad, but I'm really grateful for it because of the fact that I was reading some stories, and there are people who are like hospitalized every single time that they get one of these episodes. Because like either they don't stay hydrated or it's just too bad. There was one kid that I was reading about who literally they take into the ER and they sedate him for 3 days until the episode passes. And also one thing that really characterizes CVS is my mom always likes to call it an on-off switch, and so I'll be like in the middle of it just vomiting and throwing up, and then there'll be one last time, and then I'll like, my go-to food is Cheetos, and so I'll ask for Cheetos or rice with Parmesan, or not rice with Parmesan, pasta with Parmesan and butter. And that'll be like when my parents know that it's over. And so unlike the stomach flu or like a bug, it's you recover really quickly. And that's gotten down a little bit since I got diagnosed with POTS, because that affects your joints and like the blood flow in your body. So like I get dizzier easier, my joints hurt for longer, that kind of thing. But now it has spread out. It's the first time since last year that I've had one that it's been a month period before another episode. And so I'm really grateful for that. But I've also, all of the videos that I've been watching, they've been giving treatment options and like all of these things. I have no treatment options for you. I'm sorry, I just don't, because I don't know what to do to fix them, because I'm still dealing with it. I can never make it stop. But one thing is, once it starts, it's really hard to stop it. So if you find something, first off, comment on this video because I would love to know. But those nausea bands, I found one that's called a relief band. I'm trying to convince my mom to get me one. And they just stop nausea. Advil, Benadryl always helps me. And like different triptans are always good, which they're not over the counter, so you'd have to get a prescription, but they do help. So that is my story, and I hope that this helps other people who are going through this, and I hope you all have a lovely day. Thank you for listening to my story.